Design is everywhere, and we will discover the design destinations as you've never seen them before. The key places of design in the new series, Design Districts. The fine line of the New York horizon is constantly evolving, and its contours reveal an unstoppable creativity. The Edge Observatory, the highest in the Western Hemisphere. The interweaving of stairs in the totemic vessel by Thomas Heatherwick. The audacity of the Kinetic Arts Center, the Shed. Moving on rails, the extension of the High Line. The conversion of the piers into public parks on the Hudson and East Rivers. The restyling of the MoMA, and the towers that defy the laws of gravity. An authentic creative forge among innovative architecture, museums, immersive exhibitions, and design galleries such as L'Atelier Courbet, the New Pace Gallery, Friedman Bender, R & Company, Carpenters, just to name a few.
The new projects that are under construction and the renovations that are in process now all around New York City, there are many. It's truly a city under construction in many, many, many ways. And is that a positive or negative thing for the city? Well, revitalization, I believe, has been a very, very positive thing. When we had Mayor Michael Bloomberg, he was very interested in design and architecture and understood that that did help communities in many, many ways. He brought back parks, and he brought in the concept of pedestrian plazas, which is what we see in Times Square, as well as many other areas around the city where traffic is rerouted and people have their space to be and to gather. That's all very positive and very important for communities, gathering places and parks and bringing nature into the concrete jungle here.
It's a feast for the eyes if you have an eye for it. So again, you name it, whether it's the designer, the interior, the material, the amount of light, the different solution, a different location, because neighborhoods just look at what happens on Hudson Yards, but then something else is going to happen in a different area. The Brooklyn is booming. It never stops. There's always something else, but this is part of the history of New York. It's always been rebuilding itself constantly. So for real estate and interior design, where else would you go? It's just the destination for it.
May is the month in which New York turns into a design promenade, thanks to NYC by Design, including site-specific installations, collaboration with the ICFF, and events with acclaimed designers.
NYC by Design is built on the connections between the city as well as the designers who live and work in the city or are doing work in the city, as well as the residents of the city. That is at the core of NYC by Design. NYC by Design, as you know, is organized by the New York City Economic Development Corporation. The New York City Economic Development Corporation, NYCEDC. So the city is very deeply involved in shaping the programming of NYC by Design. Sandow took over as the operator this year. Sandow is, of course, a media company, but home to design brands like Interior Design, Metropolis, Lux Magazine, and Gallery Magazine, also connected to the city's design scene in many ways. NYC by Design has that connection between the city and the designers and the residents kind of built into its DNA.
The crucial point of the city activity is the Design Pavilion in Times Square.
Well, Design Pavilion chose Times Square, and Times Square chose Design Pavilion as well. We have a mission to bring good design to the public. And the reason why we want to bring good design to the public is because they're our clients and our consumers. And the more they understand about what designers do and what goes into the thought process behind products and spaces that they use every day and they live in every day and they work in every day, the more value these spaces and buildings and products and tools have for them. And so we feel that understanding will also assist our industry. And the more our clients and consumers know, they're educated, the better it is for us. And so if you're looking for a public space to have this kind of mission fulfilled, there's no better place than Times Square. And it's the crossroads of the world. There are people from all countries, from all over the world that come and visit. But it's also the heart of the business district in New York City. And so the public is made up of residents that have homes and use products and designers, but also businesses. And they're the home. Times Square is the home of businesses such as NASDAQ and Adobe and Viacom and Thomson Reuters and big corporations. So we see the executives, we see the residents, and then we also see people who visit from all over the world. And additionally, Times Square is the perfect example of how urban planning and how design can revitalize neighborhoods and districts. And we see that very clearly. The Times Square of the 70s doesn't resemble anything of the Times Square of today. So Times Square Alliance has been a wonderful partner and very, very much in support of design and what we're doing. So every year, when we're determining the themes and the topics to cover in Design Pavilion, we actually are driven and attracted to what's happening in that moment and what designers and architects are thinking about. So we've always had a very, very strong concentration on sustainability. And sustainability is now moving beyond sustainability into resiliency and really long life and coming back from crisis and so on. And so we follow the tone of the industry. We follow the concerns of architects and designers worldwide. That's how we position it. We like to give a glimpse of the future, so we've had also future as a theme.
A lot of interactions with the city's museums are worth mentioning. From the Cooper Hewitt Smithsonian Design Museum to the Brooklyn Museum to the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens, and the Bronx with the New York Botanical Gardens.
Brooklyn, I mean, the way we saw it when we started, Brooklyn was really at the beginning 10 years ago of becoming the place for creatives to be, right? And some hubs started to develop in different parts of Brooklyn, like Bushwick being very artsy, and Dumbo, more and more studios and little store, Red Hook being the place for creatives, studios to be there. Still not so many places for everyone to go and shop design, but honestly, if there is great museum and time during the year, still in Manhattan, I mean, I feel still that there are not so many places for general public to go and shop, design store, concept store. You have, a few design museum stores that are really nice. Soho is a place for people to just discover nice showrooms, but it's not so many. So there are not so many places for shopping design and for discovering good design. But Brooklyn was really very sexy, right, for the public, and really like a brand. When you talk about Brooklyn, for everyone, it's like, wow, that's the place to be for discovering design and creatives.
There are also innovative hubs such as the Brooklyn Navy Yard, center of urban manufacturing. The close relationship with universities and the long-standing connection with Wanted Design, an important company based in Industry City in Brooklyn, where it has also opened its store in a sign of the future trend.
When we started Wanted Design in Manhattan, at that time, still no one would go to Brooklyn to visit because nobody really knew where to go. And Brooklyn is so big. And our idea when we started Wanted Design Brooklyn was really to create a hub, a destination for discovering what is Brooklyn in terms of design. And the nice story is that, so we started Wanted Design in 2011 in Manhattan. And in 2013, we get that phone call one day. Hi, this is we are from Jamestown, a developer. We just acquired Industry City. And we would like to meet with you because we want Industry City to become like a design district. I mean, it was not so clear at that time, but that's about what was the conversation. How could we collaborate with you? Because your community, your participants, exhibitors, visitors, the community you have, that's the community we would love to have at Industry City. But honestly, neither Claire, neither me never went to Industry City before. And so we go there one day. The nice thing is that there is a subway, so direct, express from Manhattan. So when you look at a map, you think it's very isolated in the south of Brooklyn, but in fact, it's super quick. And it was essential for really developing as a destination. So first time we go there, this huge, campus, the scale is unique. It's waterfront. You face Manhattan. It's really magical.
We started with Wanted Design Manhattan as a small trade show and a place for the industry to get together and really trying to connect the interior designers, the architects, the young designers, more established designers, the brands, the students, the international guests with the local makers. And Wanted Design became this platform that is now active all year round, but became this platform where everybody would come together around some programming and product launches. And it was this 4 days at the same time as ICFF that created the solid foundation of what we have now as a design week.
The two districts of New York dedicated to the design experience. Contemporary living is revealed in the windows of the elegant showrooms. In Soho, along Green Street and Wooster Street, the bohemian atmosphere is background for brands like De Padova, Boffi, Capellini, Tom Dixon, Floss, Artemide, Moroso, Cassina, Poltrona Frau, Foscarini. Design within reach. While in Nomad on Madison Avenue, brands like Polyform, B&B Italia, Molteni & Company, DDC, Moi.
Well, we live in a very creative city, and we live in a Soho Design District is based in a historically creative area in the sense that it has hosted over time a lot of creative people, artists, galleries, and now it is a hub for design, interior design, but not only. On top of that, we live in a city where networking is king. If you combine all these elements, you combine creativity and networking, you naturally create a community where people share values, share goals, and know each other. At that point, you do have a path in front of you that you're going to walk together, and that's how you create the community. It sounds very simple, but in fact, it is very simple. And you have all the necessary elements in New York to do so, and even more so within Soho specifically. This year in particular, obviously it was different, and it imposed a break on everybody's activities, which we used as an opportunity to think about ourselves, I think everybody did so individually, but we saw it as an opportunity to also rethink Soho Design District and make sure that our goals, we're focused on our goals. We have very clear what our goals are because, in time, everything develops, including people and organizations. So we are in fact going to share a new manifesto with the members this afternoon. And there's nothing really has changed as far as our values, but we wanted to make sure that we were all aware of who we are and what we stand for, especially in this very changing world that we live in for a number of different reasons. We definitely stand for education. That's one of our pillars. Networking, as I said, is very important. We stand for creativity, and we're looking to create a hub. And that happens if you're active in the environment where you live. So if you combine all these elements and you understand that you have shared values and shared goals, you naturally are going to combine some business, but also the creativity, and make sure that people come together. So this is how we're going to continue to keep the community alive and build it even stronger. If we're stronger, not just as Soho Design District per se, with our brands, but also with the surrounding community and other organizations, I think, we create a more attractive environment where we can offer more organic experiences. So the big idea I have, I confess, would be to have a Soho open neighborhood where everybody, with a focus on creativity, offers an opportunity to visit and an opportunity to learn about the association, the brand, the interior designer, So this would not, of course, be what happens during NYC by Design, because that's a specific umbrella event. It's coordinated with the rest of New York, but would be an opportunity for the Soho neighbor to know each other, realize the power we have as a destination.
Not far away, 2 entire buildings dedicate their spaces to international and made-in-Italy design. The D&D building on 3rd Avenue and the New York Design Center on Lexington Avenue. For those looking for vintage furniture or unique pieces, the address is the First Dibs Gallery in West Chelsea, a space with 50 displays of custom furniture, design icons, pop furniture, and limited editions. In the heart of the meatpacking district, RH Restoration Hardware occupies an entire building, 6 levels dedicated to its collections, and a rooftop restaurant among London plane trees and the Manhattan skyline. The Center for Architecture by Andrew Berman, home of the American Institute of Architects. The Storefront for Art and Architecture, an unconventional space with an openable facade designed by Stephen Hall and Vito Acconci. The New York School of Interior Design Gallery, with students' work alongside professional design work. The Bard Graduate Center, with lectures and concerts.
New York is one of the most exciting destinations for design in the world. Just in terms of sheer numbers, by most estimates, New York actually has the largest creative community of any of the great metropolises in the world, compared to London, Paris, Tokyo, and so on. And it has a really unique culture. We've built some great institutions here in New York that support creativity. The Cooper Hewitt Design Museum is here in New York City. Of course, the Museum of Modern Art, which has been pivotal in the development of architecture and design history, as well as great organizations, headquartered here, professional organizations like AIGA, which is the American Institute of Graphic Artists. The city is a very vibrant place for design. Some of the greatest design practices in the world are headquartered here. Many great corporations have their design teams located here. Just in terms of the kind of professionals in New York City, this is why it's such a great place for young designers to build their careers, to be mentored, right? A lot of currents for design flow through New York. New York is also a great market for design. It's the largest market for design in the United States. And so that means that amazing design that happens elsewhere in the world, whether it is in fashion, in graphic design, in products, in furniture, in furnishings, in interiors, and in architecture, flows through New York in some form or the other. So it's really a great, intersection point for design and creativity.
It's always hard for us as Europeans to compare what we know in Europe and what's happening here. We always have to keep in mind that the design scene in New York is very young. It's not something as established and as rooted in the culture than it is in Europe. So the design scene here in Manhattan is pretty diverse in terms of all the points of access you have to design throughout the year. So the museums, of course, is a big part of it, and that's public access. So it's for everybody, which is great. The design schools are also very active and dynamic in terms of programming. They have galleries throughout the year where they host exhibitions. We have a great gallery scene. So there's a really large neighborhood in Manhattan where you have a lot of galleries, art galleries, but more and more design galleries. So it's very, it's very alive. It's very much dense if you, as a design enthusiast, want to come to New York and discover design.
The MAD, Museum of Art and Design in Columbus Circle, hosts an interesting program dedicated to handmade design, and in its store you can find unusual objects. In the search for visionary design, the concept store 10 Corso Como in the South Street Seaport District and the 2 locations of the MoMA store are flanked by small gems in which to discover creative quintessence.
How is design perceived in a city like New York? I would love to say that it was perceived just as it's perceived in Milan, right? But sadly, I don't think that the majority of people are even aware that they're surrounded by, they're using, they're touching, they're affected by design and architecture every day of their lives. So I believe that people in New York are very proud that they are in a very creative city. They know that. With the fashion industry, with the theater district, with all of the museums that we have around town, I know that they sense that there's this great creativity, and they are probably perceiving it as that energy that comes out of New York, walking in the street. But really what's creating that are the buildings, are the architecture, are the spaces, are the things that creative people, from designers to artists, have brought to the city. So I think that they innately feel it, but they're not intellectually aware. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're hoping to change.
I think one of the building blocks for this city's creative force is its diversity. New York City, as we've said before, is crossroads of the world, and people from all over the world come here. I'm an example of that. I came here from India to become an editor at Metropolis magazine. So people from all over the world bring their perspectives to the city, and every time that happens, it brings a new way of looking at the world to us. It brings new opportunities, new ideas, fresh ideas, new concerns to us. Plus New York City has always been a place with a very active public life. Even right now, where we have protests around anti-racism going on across the country, New York City has been one of the hubs. We've had, people really voice their concerns, their hope for a better future on the streets of New York. New Yorkers have never been shy, and so that diversity, that, kind of constant dialogue that happens in the city is really the core of what makes the city great. It creates those really dense networks of people that New York is known for. New York is like the biggest small city in the world. Everybody knows everybody. It's a very networked city. And again, that actually comes from its diversity and from all of those different voices that are at play here. So I would say that's at the core. And that's something, no pandemic, no challenge from outside is going to shake. In fact, that will be the source of solutions and for rebuilding for the city. And I'm really proud of that, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, diversity. If it isn't New York, where else? The melting pot. And, diversity is precious. It means, exchange. It means mutual enrichment. It means rethinking yourself, because when you compare yourself to others, and I'm saying yourself, and I mean everything, brands and all, then it's diversity does result in creativity, because if you let it be, if you kill diversity, you're not going very far. But it's just a very simple formula. And of course, building an environment around it then to nurture it. And this is what we want to do by saying we share some of the elements with others. Let's just make that grow.
I mean, I think the creative force in New York is based on what, and is nourished by what is New York about. And if you are in New York, you are there to produce something. There is an amazing, it seems like everyone say that, but it's true. There is an amazing energy there. So you are not contemplating like some city you want to go to take the time. New York, you don't really take the time. Everything is very fast speed, but the beauty is that there is a mix, there is a melting pot, there is a mix of culture. I mean, that's what we love. Coming from France, we say we are French New Yorker, but we love this multicultural aspect. It's actually pretty rare to meet the real New Yorker. I mean, you feel you are a New Yorker wherever you come from.
The New York City design industry is very much based on numbers and the size of the community, I believe. So many years ago, New York City engaged in a study, and what we learned is we have more creative professionals here in New York City proper alone than any other city in the world. And that would cover architects and graphic designers and creative marketing agencies and interior designers, industrial designers, fashion designers, artists. And because of that, they realized that we are a true business sector. And so they decided to put their power behind us and to help us promote to the rest of the world this industry, these services, practices, and products that come out of the design industry. And thus, NYC by Design was born as an umbrella for all of the different disciplines to come together and show what we do. And so the industry has that strength and power in numbers. But then also we have more design schools than any other city, more design museums and at regular museums than any other city. And we have many design publications and the showrooms and practitioners. And so massed together, it's the number and the size.
I think energy would definitely be my top word for New York City.
It's diversity. Because this is really, it's something that personally I believe is diversity. And from diversity means variety, which is the same thing, just a synonym. So, and because it offers something for everybody, I think that's what makes it unique. Not perfect, like I said, unique.
In one or two words, for me, New York is vibrant and extremely creative. I have to do more words. Exciting, forward-thinking, international, and a very, very unified community.
Vibrance.
I would say the mix.
Yeah.
Mix, diversity, curiosity, energy, vibrancy.